Joined by Carla Quattro, our sports minister and sports minister for disability. Carla, first off, you are one busy lady, and thank you for doing this very much, but on behalf of everyone with the Corporation of Delta and Delta, congratulations on being elected.
Thank you very much. It's an extreme honor, and I'm super excited.
Prime, it's just fitting that you got the title that you've got for the minister.
It combines the two things that matter most to me, the two things I've worked my life trying to achieve, and I've now been given responsibility for them nationwide. It's a big deal.
When you reflect back on your career, even starting back with swimming, you've attended 2 Olympic Games. It's got to be just exceptional, but when you reflect back on the Olympic Games as a young person, a young lady going into the Games, what were your thought process? Because that's not an easy process to make in the first place.
It sure wasn't, and certainly at the age I was 17 and then 21 during Korea and Barcelona. But I mean, the lessons I learned about determination and hard work and just doing the laps, and I transfer those lessons into everything I do. There's nothing more important in life than doing the laps, whether you're in the pool or you're at the boardroom table or you're in an election, a long election. You just got to do the laps.
What was the most important thing at that time when you were going through the Olympics that your coaching staff told you about?
The biggest lesson I learned was that, you can't cut corners, and I'll get back to that. You just have to do the work. I mean, in swimming, it's about putting in the kilometers. It's about focusing on your goals. It's about just doing the things repeatedly so that when the time comes, you do it automatically.
Did you have a supportive family behind you saying, yes, we want to push you, or the type of family that said, no, you have to do it?
No, it was definitely my decision. From the age of 11, I made a very concrete choice to compete really, seriously in swimming. So I was swimming 11 times a week, probably by the time I was 13 or 14, and swimming when I was living in Langley and Chilliwack, so there was an hour drive kind of at the beginning and end of our days. But my family, I wouldn't be here without my family. My dad, I competed in every sport imaginable when I was young. I learned a whole bunch of different skills, and I just gravitated towards the one sport that I was pretty good at, and we spoke sport at home, and we competed in sport, and we participated in sport as a family, and it really just laid the foundation for how I've lived my life.
More so swimming than other sports because you were successful at it?
No, it turned into swimming just because you can't do everything 11 times a week. But I curled, I water skied, I downhill skied. I skied in the BC Winter Games, as a downhill skier. I played soccer for 9 years. I softball for a couple of years. Whatever sport you put in front of me, I wanted to do.
Sports takes up and consumes a lot of time for the families. There's times where families want to help their young people involved, whether they've got 1 or 2 or 3 young people in the family. Yeah. They just can't afford it.
It's a huge barrier to participation, how much sport costs, and certainly some sports cost more than others, and we really have to look at that. And there's some really great work being done, like companies like Canadian Tires, to eliminate those barriers to sport participation, but they still exist in real ways for many Canadian families.
You're a mother now. How involved in sports are you with your children?
I'm getting there, let me tell you. So I've got a gymnast and a dancer and a soccer player and a basketball player. So, we are at any given weekend all over the place, all over Delta.
So not only are you supportive, you're a chauffeur as well.
And a supporter and a champion, and absolutely. Sport matters. It really matters.
We've got some pretty impressive fields and buildings that help our young athletes in Delta. How can we help grow them down the road?
It's a tough question. I think that it's all about partnerships, and particularly as we move forward, private partnerships. So you'll see companies, builders investing in sport infrastructure privately instead of publicly. And there's pros and cons to that because they charge more for kids to play on those fields. But I think we got to find a way to redefine relationships around investing in sport infrastructure and really understand the kind of sport infrastructure we need. Do we need more fields? Do we need more tracks? Do we need more pools? What do we actually need? What are our kids doing? Where do we want to direct them? Where's the smart way to invest in sport infrastructure? And because it yields such great returns.
When you were having the discussion with Prime Minister Trudeau about getting elected and put into the portfolio, what was the conversation like? First off, you must have been a bundle of nerves going in to meet him.
Well, you kind of know that if you're getting called to Ottawa, you're getting something. And it was I had worked for a couple of sport ministers, and of course my background in sport is quite significant, but it was nerve-wracking like you wouldn't believe. And I sat across from him, and he said, we'd like to make you a full minister of sport, and we'd like to make you responsible for persons with disabilities. And he said, those are the 2 most important things for you, so go out and make a difference. And I take that very seriously. It just gives me goosebumps.
And he's serious at what he means too.
He seriously is. I am a full member of cabinet. We haven't had a full minister of sport in this country ever. It's always been a secretary of state or a minister of state under another minister. So this is a huge recognition of the impact of sport in Canada.
Not only nice recognitions, but it's great to combine both portfolios.
It certainly is. I mean, it's a unique, and people often go, why are those two connected? I mean, it's definitely tailored to my interests and my skills and expertise. But, it's a way to think about both of these initiatives differently. Adding people with disabilities to my portfolio allows me to think of sport on a broader spectrum. It lets me think about sport as a tool for social change. The through sport, a means to something. When we look at kids at risk, when we look at obesity, when we look at Aboriginal youth, and just giving people something meaningful to do to address these other broader social policy objectives through sport. We can do a lot, right?
Not everyone is as gifted as everyone else. For the younger people that have disabilities and their families are trying to help them out, how can we help them, especially given the, I guess, lack of promotion with the Paralympic Games at some of the Olympics?
Yeah, I think the way you said it is perfect. For me, it's how can we help? It's about a club or a coach or a program being willing to include, and then we work it out from there. Because there may be a situation where an athlete is better served by being integrated into the current program, or perhaps a parallel program should exist for them, or perhaps we should adapt the existing program. So I think it's about looking at the individual, but going in with the perspective of inclusion, that we're going to find a place for this kid in our program. And we haven't figured it out, but let's figure it out together. And there's so many experts out there who could help.
Take baby steps first, and then we'll see take one big giant step.
Yeah, for sure.
The key for that is we watch the athletes going into the Olympics. They get so much recognition, so much TV time, so much hype. But the younger kids today that are starting, whether it's basketball or swimming or gymnastics, they're the future of the sport. We have to do more to help them.
We do, and we have to make keep the momentum going in between the Olympic and Paralympic Games. So it's not just something that happens every 4 years, every 2 years if you include the winter. It's something that happens every day in every community, in every city in this country. Sport, everybody has a connection to sport, and we have to celebrate, the kid who does his first, goal at sport ball, and the kid who wins his gold medal at the Olympics, and everybody in between, because those lives are being equally impacted by sport.
I remember my dad telling my sisters they kept wondering why Dad bought me a pair of skates all the time. And he said if I buy him skates, I don't have to bail him out of jail.
Exactly. I mean, there's so much data on the correlation between other kinds of success and sport involvement. I mean, in good sport. I'm talking true sport. I'm talking good sport, and we have to always be mindful of that. But the kids who are on the fields of play after school aren't hanging out at the mall. They're not on their couches playing video games. They're learning the skills that come along with sport, of teamwork, of friendship, of determination, of losing graciously, of winning graciously. All those things that we all know, the benefits, because we're in that world. They're natural benefits of participating in sport. But this is it's a huge community builder, sport. It's one of the stats that I love is sport is the second biggest way that new Canadians connect with their community after religion, because everybody speaks soccer. You don't have to speak the same language to speak soccer, right? And so we got to be mindful of the impact on different aspects of our community that good sport gives us.
And not all families together have a mom and dad at home. We have a lot of single families,
Absolutely.
And it's difficult on the parents.
It is difficult. My mom was a single parent when I was a teenager swimming, and we actually had to get one of my fellow teammates to contribute to her gas, and she drove me. And of course, I don't drive. I can't see well enough to drive. But, absolutely. I mean, it's going back to the economics. When you're worried about, buying your kids shoes and paying for groceries, it's hard to justify the cost of sport.
Lastly, I'll give you the last word.
Yeah.
For the ones that are watching in Delta
Yeah.
and around Canada, once we get it posted up on the website, how can you make a difference personally, and where do you see your success level in 4 years?
Well, it's a good question. I mean, one of the things I consider myself to be an ambassador for sport. I think we need to broaden the definition of sport. I don't think it's just about the Canucks or our Olympic athletes. Sport is about everything we do that's organized around physical activity and recreation, of active, healthy living. It's the whole Canadian Sport for Life model. It's physical literacy. It's teaching our kids those skills they need to be physically literate as they go out in the world, and it's active for life. It's making sure our seniors are active and healthy, and that reduces costs on the healthcare system, right? Roy Romano did his, infamous healthcare, he did this report on the state of health in Canada, and he said, invest $1 in sport and you save 5 in healthcare. I mean, you don't even have to like sport to know that that's good math, right? That's just a business case for sport. And I think that, for me, I'm going to be that champion. I'm going to challenge people to think about sport as a means, not just an end. And so I think if we can do that and we can get kids more access to sport and talk about sport regularly, I think we'll make a huge impact over the next 4 years.
Okay, and lastly, my last...
This was the last.
I know, but I've got one more I have to ask you. The last request I'm going to put, when Mr. Trudeau comes to town, I would love you to arrange us to do an interview with him.
I will do my absolute best, I promise.
Okay.
I know how tenacious you are. I'm going to tell him that.
Thanks, Carla.
Thank you very much.